877. Steve LaFoon, Wilders Nation's on the phone with us now. Let's bring Steve up, Aaron. Thank you. Steve, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Doing great, Artie. How are you?
We're doing fantastic. Let's introduce Steve LaFoon, the father of Wilder James, Wilder Nation. It's a disease that's Steve's going to explain everything to us here. We're giving Steve the floor for 20 minutes here. Everybody listening, we'll give the websites out. We already got the Philadelphia teams involved of donations to Wilder James and the Wilder Nation. So, Steve, you have the floor. Let's hear it. Give it out to the people so they know what we're talking about, please.
Perfect, man. Well, I think maybe we'll start with, Wilder's disease and what he has. And it's a disease called Niemann-Pick type A. And there's actually three different main types of Niemann-Pick disease, two which are very similar and one that's a little different. And, Wilder has what they call the early onset form of this disease, and it's a neurodegenerative, lysosomal storage disease is actually what it's classified under. And, what essentially is happening is, Wilder is missing an enzyme that is pretty crucial. It's responsible for breaking down a fat that our metabolism makes, and it breaks it down into smaller building blocks that help brain development and all kinds of other things. Well, without this enzyme, what ends up happening is this fat starts to store, this sphingomyelin is what it's called, starts to store in the major organs in the brain, the liver, the lungs, the spleen, to the point where they become obviously severely enlarged and eventually stop working. So it's like I said, it's an early onset neurodegenerative disease. There currently is no cure for Niemann-Pick type A, no treatments really for Niemann-Pick type A. You just kind of focus on quality of life and trying to make them as comfortable as possible. Type B Niemann-Pick, however, is not a neurological form. It's the same thing happening, but instead of completely missing the enzyme, you're just a little deficient in the enzyme. So you can actually live until late adulthood, and it doesn't affect you neurologically. And there's a company, a biotech company out in Boston that has developed an enzyme. It's called a recombinant human acid sphingomyelinase enzyme, to get real technical. But they've developed this, and they've done a phase 1 trial for type B Niemann-Pick disease. And they're getting ready to gear up for a phase 2 trial. Well, the reason why they don't have this really for type A is because it will eventually, there's no need to, fix the liver, the lung, the spleens, and all the organs if you can't stop what's going on upstairs. And it's a very complicated thing, I think, to get medicine past the blood-brain barrier. And so, in our case, what we're trying to do here is essentially create a therapy for Wilder. Last December, Wilder, on a random note, had hydrocephalus. And so he had a shunt put in his head. And I guess what hydrocephalus is basically, his body, for whatever reason, is not releasing the spinal fluid as fast as it's making it. And so they have to put a shunt in his head that's permanently there to kind of drain it into his abdomen and absorb it that way. Well, we look at it and go, geez, we need to get into his brain. Well, we have access essentially through a port to get medicine into his brain. So what we're trying to do essentially is work with the drug company out of Boston and the International Center for Types A and B Niemann-Pick disease, which is Mount Sinai School of Medicine out in New York. And we're trying to get Wilder approved through what will be called a single-patient IND through the FDA to deliver this medication to Wilder, both through systemic infusions and into his brain to hopefully halt or slow down the progression of this disease.
If you can get that and it can slow down, what's the chances of Wilder having how many years to his life?
It's very, very hard to say. I actually just about 30 minutes ago got off the phone with one of Wilder's doctors that's doing this at Mount Sinai. And, there's they're stumped a little bit. They've been very good, and so has Genzyme. Man, we've been working on this for about a year, Artie, and it's not easy, when you're dealing with the FDA and you're dealing with a disease that's so rare and so unknown. I mean, this is a disease that literally probably affects. Statistics say between both types A and B, there's about 1,200 people worldwide. The majority of them being type B. Type A, in the country, there's probably 10 kids maybe. There's just not a whole lot of them at one time because, average lifespan is like 18 to 28 months of age.
That's
and
incredible.
so, they're very, their time is obviously of the essence, and what they're worried about and what we're trying to figure out and what this last conversation entailed was, how they're concerned that injecting this medicine into his brain that's so unknown, is it going to, cause encephalitis or meningitis or something that could,
be fatal
disease. And so there's some safety issues that are getting worked out, and I might even have to, jump a plane out to New York to meet with some of these directors at Genzyme and Boston and maybe develop what would be called, some safety data and try this injection on mice to make sure, because we're here to save our son's life.
Right.
We're trying to do everything we can to do that within reason. We don't want to do it just to do it. We want to make sure that there is a good chance and he has a chance to actually live a decent life. Now, we could easily go get him, not easily, but we could easily go get him systemic infusions, but there's really just, there's no point if we can't figure out what's going on and stop what's going on upstairs. So, we're working so hard, and if we are able to pull this off, Wilder would be the first kid in the world, essentially, to receive this therapy. And is this a cure? No. Does it have a good chance, in my opinion, of buying us some time until some more permanent cures are ready, such as gene therapy and stuff? I really do believe so. So we're trying to develop the protocol, cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and change this disease for everybody, not just Wilder. Our goal is to save Wilder's life, but hopefully we can do it in time. But many people are going, there's not a lot of people in this disease, but this will benefit, the community, because it's not even just this disease. There's lots of diseases that affect the brain.
Yes, that's true. And a lot of the debilitated muscle diseases have affected the brain, especially with the, they have this thing with this guy, John Tinsman did it with concussions and how this bacteria from your brain runs through the body and just kills each muscle as it goes down from your head to your toes. A guy named Steve Smith's in the hospital right now. Can't move nothing but his eyes. They feed him with a feeding tube. Wally Hilgenberg passed away from this debilitating disease. And John Tisman relates it all to concussions. In 2007, he was on Real Sports. They didn't take him seriously. But last year, when he brought everything to the table, and he had this woman doctor do some research with him, and he found out that this is the cause, then Brian Gumbel on Real Sports did a follow-up story with John Tisman and his assistant, and now the NFL is the way it is because they broke that story. So this is something.
You're talking about ALS?
Yes.
I believe.
Yes, you are. Exactly right. ALS. And they said that Lou Gehrig was carried off on a stretcher 8 different times, played the next day with the concussion, and that's how he got ALS. And also, I want everyone to know who's listening to this program, it's not how much you give. It's the thought that means everything. Of you giving whatever it may be, but your thoughts and your prayers is with Wilder. That's what keeps it going. Steve and his wife are trying to.
You really nailed it, man.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, Steve and his wife are trying desperately to save their son. But that's just not all of it. That's just one phase of it. Not only are they looking to save their son's life, but they're looking to save other children's lives. They're not just in it for their son. And I understand that they want to save their son, and I'd want to save my son. I cut my right and left arm off if I could save my son. I know where you're coming from, but this is for other children also. That's why we all have to get involved with Wilder Nation and make this baby happen. Here's a little baby. We can make history here. We can make history, the first and only. Be the first one. Make history. You got to get with Wilders Nation. You got to try to help out this cause. It's a tremendous cause, just not for Wilder himself, but for the rest of the kids in America and around the world.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, you nailed it. We, people ask us all the time. In a day in our life is pretty wild, but they ask us, I don't know how you do it. Well, it's, we have such a support system behind us. And, with Wilder Nation and the creation of Wilder Nation, that kind of came to us, actually a couple friends, because there were so many people that wanted to do stuff and they didn't really know how. So we threw an event called, it was the kickoff event for Wilder Nation, and it was, a huge success. We had huge support, and we continue to have support, even just, the messages that we get on the website that actually, pick us up, because it's very easy to start, being down on yourself and your situation. And, you get these messages, you talk to these people, and you see how, there are good people out there, man. And you're one of them, Artie, I tell you. But there's still a lot of good in this world. And it just, it makes, it lifts us up and it keeps us going every day.
You need someone to do the rah-rah and the cheering to keep you guys going, because it's just so tough on you mentally and physically. The little baby, your love, your boy, and you watch this going on day in and day out, it can work you over to the point where you can say, I give up. A lot of people might say that, and then there's a little baby voice in your back saying, don't give up yet, man. Keep on going. I know you're tired. I know you're mentally exhausted. You got to find another gear in your body and get yourself back in there. For the children and for your son of America, you have to stay on a positive note. Myself, the show, the charity events, what we're going to try to do for you is our pleasure. We want to do this for you. I especially want to do it for you because of just the thought of saving one person's life would be good for me, but to save many people's lives would be even better. That's why we're going to come down and see Stephen in person and get this out there and get it in the right hands. They're not far away. If they can get through the FDA and get this enzyme thing going for Steve and his son and Wilder Nation and go out to other babies and other children in the world and they find a solution for this, it should be out there. It should be supported, and we're there, hook, line, and sinker. I'm all in, as they say in Texas Hold'em, and I can't wait to get down there, do the piece, get it edited properly, get it out to America, let them see what's going on nationally, worldwide, and hopefully we'll get the help that we need.
Yep, and I'm looking forward to you coming down, Artie. And like I said, speaking of people lifting you up at the beginning of the day, in the time I've gotten to know you, you've done that for my wife and I. Just how much interest you've taken in this, in our situation and in Wilder, and Wilder also. I mean, you think we go